Good afternoon. Hey, folks themselves out there, thank you very much for joining us today. Hey, with me once again, is our guest, Mark Hammond from Union Home Mortgage, right? Mark, I said that right this time, didn't I?
Yes, sir, you got it right. Hey, it's a great day to be alive, Rich. Great to be with you again.
Without a doubt. You know, Mark, today we're going to be talking about this military relocation and how MRP, I think, is a very pivotal direction for today's real estate professionals, and especially coming from what we talk about all the time on the financial lens, and utilizing VA financing and VA services and VA mortgage lending, all right, for our veterans and individuals themselves that could or approved, all right, to utilize VA financing out there. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. For our military professionals, active duty and retired military, the VA lending program is the absolute best program for them, and we'll get into that later into the discussion. But yeah, so you and I have done, we've done at least a couple dozen of these over the years. And they've all been really successful. You know, I'm really proud to see the agents, you know, spend some time with you in the classroom to learn more about how to serve better the military community from your experience of teaching these courses over the years. And it's cool to see agents and also loan officers too, you know, in the community using their MRP certification to better serve military families and do more business for themselves as well. So it's been a great thing, you know, I've done for many years now, and I'm happy to talk a little bit more about it in depth here on your podcast.
Well, let's get involved. Let's get inside of it. All right, MRP. All righty, military relocation. All right, and you're probably going to ask me. I'm going to ask you. We'll kind of go back and forth on this one. What does MRP, military relocation, mean to you? And what has it actually brought you? All right, for the last couple of years.
Yeah, so I think it's important. You know, we go slow to go fast. So MRP, and we love to use acronyms in the real estate business. So MRP stands for Military Relocation Professional, and so it's a designation that real estate agents can obtain if they, number one, attend one of your courses, and then number two, sign up with the National Association of Realtors and get the final certification. They get access to all kinds of cool marketing materials from NAR that can differentiate themselves from other agents in the marketplace. Of course, they learn a lot on the course from you. And then the agents also get placed into a special database that only MRP certified agents are listed in. So if there's an active duty military person or retired military who's being transferred and they're moving to a new area, they can search the MRP database for agents in that marketplace and find an agent to work with who's already familiar with the needs and wants and desires of the military community.
Right. You have a lot of back history working with military. I have a lot of back history working with military as being military contractors. I've been contracting for well over 30, 40 years already and working with families in that dynamic. There's many different ways that you can work with these fine folks in the military, all right, to get them into housing and housing solutions that are actually going to be best for them, you know. There's a reason why you got in. There's a reason why I got here, because it is real estate. It is financial. It is a way of seeing a path of success when it comes down to home ownership or entitlement, a little bit of the dream, where individuals themselves have that opportunity to not only serve our country and serve it well, all right, but actually get an opportunity to have and to afford, all right, home ownership. And, you know, later on, we'll talk a little bit about the financing vehicles that do that. And that's very, very unique because, I mean, in some cases themselves, let's say in all cases, already, when you have a military individual who has had a very, very successful, let's just say successful career, they have the opportunity of utilizing certain little tools and ways themselves so they could finance their homes with either low down payments or different ways themselves of utilizing government funding. Okay, and that's what we're talking about. One of the things themselves that got me into the military itself, I'm now 30-year veteran. All right, actually 30-year veteran in real estate, but 20 years as an international broker. All right.
Wow. And
12 years as a financial broker, working with individuals themselves of wealth and wealth building. Okay. And it never ceases to amaze me how individuals, whether professionals from real estate and or individuals themselves acquiring or looking for the dream, okay, fall short of information needed, all right, for those individuals to make those decisions, you know? And what have we come across? What have you seen so far with real estate professionals? And why Mark, you've sat through my courses several times.
Sure.
Why is this information extremely important, not only for today's military buyer, okay, but for today's real estate professional? What do you think?
Well, I think it all comes down to it's a catchword, but it's a relevant word. I think it comes down to call reluctance.
Right.
I mean, ultimately, a real estate agent does a lot of things, wears a lot of hats, but they are sales professionals. They're looking to add value to the customers that they serve. And when it comes to military families, a lot of times, a lot of the acronyms and a lot of the terminology that's used in the military, plus you mentioned the VA lending process too,
Sure.
which brings its own set of terminology and acronyms additional on top of the military
Right.
stuff. I think all that stuff can be intimidating. So I think your course is unique in that it defines all those terms for the agent, and it's really the first step to getting over that call reluctance, so they would feel comfortable, maybe showing up at a VFW for the luncheon one day, or maybe hosting a first-time homebuyer seminar, for active duty military, or maybe even getting on a base and working directly with the base on the benefits of home ownership. And in terms of an overall financial plan, I mean, I guess it's possible, but home ownership, it really is the key, really the foundation to starting that overall financial plan. I mean, I guess you could be a renter and build up substantial net worth and stability in your family, but it's been proven time and time again that having a home and financing the home with a fixed rate mortgage is a key to to building long time and generational net worth for your family. And so why not? What a better community to do that with than the folks that have risked everything, life, limb, eyes, post-traumatic stress syndrome, all the stress that comes with with being in the military, risking it all, and now they're looking to start a family, build up some generational net worth, and try to help them become homeowners. Like, I can't think of a better way to serve your community.
Right. When you start taking a look at this course and the breakdown of the course, we talk about those areas of market, all right, that a real estate professional has. Now, I'm not going to say, okay, today's real estate professional, they've got to be diverse. All right, they've got to open up in different, or maybe just several different market areas, whether we're working with the generations, whether we're working with seniors, whether we're working with buyers or sellers. But what's so unique about this course, and Mark, we've talked about this time and time again, is that MRP, the Military Relocation Professional Program, is a super-based planning, all right, tool, all right, that gives you the opportunity to now start to plan and forecast the rest of your real estate business. If you're the real estate is a career, it's a great career for many people, all right, 1.5 million and some plus in the country today. All right, but now working and having that ability to help those military families is going to be crucial. So we cover those things. We talk about the plans and scheduling and the ideas and opportunities themselves that arise. You had mentioned the acronyms. Acronyms are extremely important. We talk about PCS, permanent change stations, or we talk about the DoD, Department of Defense, and we talk about all these.
There's a lot of them.
Oh, there's tons of them. All right, the military itself was famous, all right, for acronyms. But when you start breaking down that and you're starting to talk the talk and walk the walk and developing that relationship through communication, all right, and showing somebody you really care about what you do, that really gets us into the process and how the process starts now to cover not only what you're doing with military families, but how this is going to relate to civilian population too. Some days these military folks, they're going to reinitiate themselves back into civilian populations. And sometimes that could be a tougher challenge. And so as real estate professionals themselves, I know we're the source, we're resource individuals to help people through this process. This program does that. And it aligns you not only for your military relocation folks, all right, your active duty members or individuals themselves currently serving, but it actually gives you a planning opportunity. Mark, NAR tells us that the number one reason why individuals don't do as well as they could in this business, already, is for one reason. okay, is they fail to plan. There's no planning. All right. Most of the individuals themselves got into real estate for a particular reason. Somebody said they can make a lot of money, or I just like driving people around in my car. I like there's a ton of them out there. But if you can really focus down, Artie, and how you really want to help the dynamics of people, all right, through the home ownership process, MRP, the Military Relocation Professional Course, is that course. All right, because we talk about those things that are self-through. What the market is working with today, okay, and as well as I do, markets are constantly changing. All right, we're seeing a lot of change right now on our current markets. But within that, the process to understand how to utilize or leverage marketing, okay, and to really help someone and guide our families to the right choices. All right, we can't make those decisions for them, but we can guide them to the choices that are going to work well for their family, positioning their family, hopefully for what? Future financial stability. People might, Mark, people are not afraid of dying no more. Okay, you know what they're afraid of? They're afraid of outliving their money. All right, so how do we do? What we do is we protect people's long-term interest. And so that's what we're going to take you through and how to protect that long-term interest for years to come. All right, and so not only are we breaking into what we're doing from the MRP side, but I'm also going to bring you into the financial aspect. All right, how to understand how money really works. Everybody that attends my programs, they get a free book of how money works. And so, Mark, what's unique about this book? It's funny thing is, how can you not read a book, all right, without cartoons? It's got cartoons. It's got cartoon figures. And so how could you not read and understand what we do, all right? From a real estate perspective, all right, especially someone from a military background, okay, if the key issue out here is long-term financial stability, all right, and individuals themselves are afraid of outliving their money. All right, and if we say that this real estate, this piece of real estate that they could be purchasing, buying, is going to be one of the largest investments they make over their, maybe perhaps their lifetime, my question is how we're going to be able to protect that investment for them.
It's interesting. You mentioned the NAR and the lack of a plan is why
Right.
most real estate agents fail. And of course, I'm almost 30 years in on the financing side of real estate, and so I've talked to real estate agents over my entire career. I've talked to hundreds and thousands of loan officers that work with real estate agents all the time, and
Right.
it's interesting. There's most of the agents actually are it seems like they're part time. I mean, they're not full time agents, and the ones that are full time, that they have it's a chasm. You talk about the 80-10.
All right. It's a
90-10,
90-10.
80-20, 90-10. It may be even higher than that in real estate agents.
Maybe.
I mean, you look at somebody like let's say here in Georgia, we've got Mark Spain. You see his billboards all over town. You hear him on the radio all the time.
Right.
And compared to someone who's maybe at the tennis club, part time, doing it in between tennis matches. There's a huge chasm, between the true professionals that are focused on real estate and the ones that just sort of do it casually. And so I think that's part of the success and failure rate too. Is having a plan is important,
Right.
But executing on the plan is way more important than the plan. And so like if I had to choose between the two, I'll take an average plan or even a below average plan and above average execution
Right.
over awesome plans and no execution. Because I think that's where, and that's not just real estate agents, I think that's where a lot of salespeople get trapped.
Right.
Is they spend all their time planning and very little time actually doing. And so I hope that with the MRP course that you teach, maybe that becomes the catalyst for those agents to complete the certification,
Right.
and this becomes their niche. Not because it's a great plan, which it could be a great plan,
Sure.
but it's only a great plan if you actually go do it.
Right.
And so maybe this is and I hope your course is a springboard, for these agents to say, aha, here's my, maybe I'm not going to be the next Mark Spain, but I'm going to be a little bit better than Susie Tennis down at the club,
Sure.
doing a little bit more than just a couple of closings a year.
Right.
Let's do a couple of closings a month or a week, right? Let's make that And if military, if they can get over the acronyms, get over the language, and feel good about, serving that community, I'll mention it again, the folks that have given everything,
Right.
so we can have the freedoms and the choices we make to get into real estate in our country. I can't think of a better way, to serve that community, help them build that rock, that foundation of a home, become homeowners, and then serve themselves at the same time. Hey, I've got my niche now,
Sure.
and I feel good every morning getting up and figuring out new and creative ways to serve more military families because of the course that Rich had me sit through for almost a whole day,
It's not that bad, Mark.
And it's a great course. I mean, that's why we've done so many of them over the years, and I believe strongly in it. So I'm not gonna argue with the NAR and why agents don't succeed.
Right.
But my hope is that through your course, this becomes the springboard, the thing that gets the agents motivated to go execute on a plan. And really, MRP is just one way for them to have a plan, but it probably is the best way.
Well, it's a great start. Let's put it this way. Real estate, it's definitely a discipline. All right. And you definitely have to be disciplined. Time management's got to be on your side. All right. There are a lot of other factors in the business environments, skills, knowledge, tools, techniques, resources that you're gathering. All right. This is what we do. We cover this inside this program. But what's unique in the MRP program, which is not actually picked up or illustrated in any of the other programs that we do, it discusses the skills wheel. And the skills wheel, what's most important to today's agents in order to be productive and profitable, are already in their business and their planning structures. You're right. Plan is great. Execution, 100% through and through. Okay. I believe in the education portion. I have every designation certification known to men and women out there. Okay. Because I feel that the education is extremely important. But as for the MRP, why this is extremely important, because it is a springboard, not only to working and developing relationships with military personnel, okay, but now working with the rest of your business, working with buyers and sellers and investors, and working with different types of internationals, already, and it gives you a great cross-sectional, all right, to really understanding how the process works and what you can do within your particular skills, knowledge, tools, and resources to benefit what you do and leave your legacy as a real estate professional.
Sure. And again, I'll mention it again. My hope is that the folks that attend your courses get inspired. That we get the call reluctance out of the way. That they learn the acronyms, they learn the terminology, they get comfortable talking about military type stuff. The things that all the lingo that happens in the military. They get the call reluctance out of the way, and then they go try a few.
That's right.
Just say, hey, how can I plug myself into the military community? Whether it's the VFW or the American Legion, or there's a million different ways to get involved.
Sure there is, yeah.
I mean, we don't have to list them all, but we can. Mm-hmm. And then go do one. Do for one what you'd want to do for many. Help them become homeowners. And then gosh, I think it builds upon itself. And I think for an agent, if you're a real estate agent and you haven't found that niche yet where you get excited every morning waking up and wanting to go execute your plan because maybe you have too many plans. Maybe you don't have a plan. Maybe it's something in between.
Sure.
But this would be a way to be excited about getting up every day and figuring out what are some new and cool ways I can go serve the military community because of Rich's course, because I took the time to invest in myself and do it in a way that helps the people that, like I said, I can't say it enough, that risked everything to allow me to have that choice on what I'm going to do today and what my profession is going to be. I've chosen to be in real estate. Why not give something back? And I can't say enough about how I feel about the course and the agents that take the time to learn and help serve this community.
NAR tells us that there's a percentage out there, about 56 to 58% of the individuals in real estate today, already, from a perspective, let's just round it off, 1.5 million, do less than one transaction a year.
Right.
56 to 58% do less than one transaction a year. That's crazy. Why did you get into business in the first place? And so what's unique about the process, and I've been doing this with NAR for a very, very long time, and all the different types of courses that's offered, from the international all the way down to the profits and sales and dynamics and building business plans. All right. I think you were very unique about this process and the way I bring the courses in, because we're not only drilling down on real estate and the potential and the direction of, but we're also dealing down on the financial end and how that really plays a part already in the whole scope. And then we're also taking a look at the business sides. So I'm not taking you through real estate, only real estate. I'm taking you through real estate, the financial and the business sides, which really starts to mold the whole dynamic about what you're doing and what you want to accomplish in business. And I think that's extremely, extremely important. Why be a statistic that's extremely low that NAR is counting on you not performing?
Right.
Which I think that's crazy. And so really putting it in it and getting it out above the game and doing things themselves you normally would not do, all right, to really clock out the transactions themselves. Yeah, I want to close at least 5 transactions a month, 7 transactions a month. I'm not going to tell you what the bigger guys themselves are doing right now, because it may depress a lot of agents out there, all right? But from the fact itself, I believe that every agent has that particular opportunity already if they apply themselves, all right, with the skills, knowledge, tools, and the techniques of what we're putting here. So, Mark, I'm talking with Mark Hammond today from Union Home Mortgage. And Mark, you and I, we've been doing these MRP programs themselves for the last couple of years now. All right.
Yeah, at least 3 or 4 years.
We're going to be taking it across the country.
That's right.
Okay?
That's right.
Without
I'm
a
excited
doubt.
about that.
That's
excited about
extremely
that.
excited.
Yeah, we've done them in Florida, Georgia, a couple of them online during the COVID days.
Exactly.
We did a couple.
That's right.
We did a couple of Zoom ones, and but now that we're I guess we can probably do some Zoom ones in the future too. But I think the in-person ones, I like those better.
That's the interaction of the people and the interaction.
I feel better about the
well.
in-person ones, but we'll do some more Zoom ones too.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm excited about taking this on the road and expanding it to more states across the country, getting maybe like a regular schedule.
Right. And you'll see that out. That schedule itself will be posted through the National Association of Realtors on their education sites, the CSRE sites. It'll also be posted through the EvalueCore Institute on their site. You can go to richhart.com. You can go to evaluecore.com. You just send us an email at info@richhart.com. More than happy to get that going there. Or 888-966-0878. It's 888-966-0878. I sound like an infomercial, so it's not like I'm selling custom slipcovers at your own home, so without a doubt. But any way we can reach out and we can help develop folks on there. All right. So Mark, one of my last things I'd like to discuss today is I think it's very important that when we bring these courses in, I'd like to bring the local already mortgage providers.
That's right.
Okay,
That's right.
So we're keying into the VA mortgage that these folks themselves know. I've been in several situations where I have individuals turn around and say, "Yeah, I know how to do the VA mortgage. That's not a problem." And come to find out, it was bedlam. It was crazy. Okay.
Yeah. So that's hugely important. And I think for the agents, I mean, you don't overcomplicate it. You don't have to learn every single aspect of VA financing to be able to serve the veterans. So it's important. We'll always partner. So my company, Union Home, we do a great job in the B2B world, providing the liquidity for mortgage brokers, mortgage companies, small banks and credit unions all across the country.
Right.
We buy their VA loans. We teach them how to do VA loans. We have all kinds of recorded trainings. So we know which of our customers do a lot of VA business with us. And so we'll always partner with a local loan officer in that community wherever you're doing your
exactly.
your trainings for the agents, and make sure that they're partnered with someone who knows the basics of
someone they can call, someone that's right there direct.
Well, but I think that's where the agents maybe overcomplicate things sometimes a little bit too. Is they want to, and to their credit, they want to know all the details of how this is going to work. And you don't, I mean, guidelines change, things change a lot. It's enough for the loan officers to keep up with all the guideline changes. Just know that you partner with a strong VA loan officer in your local market, and don't worry about the rest. That's their job, but for your agents and the folks listening to the podcast, I mean, hands down, the VA loan is the absolute best deal for the veteran. 0% money down, no monthly mortgage insurance. It's usually the best rate on the rate sheet. And it's surprising. We see sometimes too in many markets. the agents are reluctant to accept offers, from veterans as well. That really burns me up a little bit. And I get it.
Education.
I get it. Sometimes
Gotcha.
it's. I mean, and really, any fixed rate program is going to be a government sponsored program, whether it's a Fannie Freddie loan.
Right.
Newsflash, Fannie. The government, Fannie and Freddie are owned by the government.
That's right.
HUD is owned by the government, so
Right.
VA falls under HUD. But in the grand scheme of things, the VA loans outperform Fannie and Freddie loans.
That's
Typically,
right.
they way outperform USDA's
right.
and FHA loans.
Mm-hmm.
And just because the veteran, is not putting any money down doesn't mean they couldn't put any money down.
No.
On average, the veterans tend to have more months of reserves in
Right.
savings than the typical FHA or Fannie or Freddie loan, because a lot of times when they're active duty, guess what? They're getting paid, and they're not having they don't have a housing expense.
That's right.
They're on the base, or they're deployed overseas or wherever. So they're where a typical consumer on a Fannie Freddie loan has been renting.
Yeah, right.
Maybe 20, 30 or more % of their income is going towards rent, or maybe their current mortgage. The active duty military personnel, is been able to bank that
About that, right.
bank
Exactly.
that rent. So they typically have more. They could put
Equity.
more down.
Position.
Yeah, and so
More
that
stable financial
that makes them a better risk, for us in the lending business. And then of course the 100%, is a huge advantage in terms of the rate of return on your real estate
Right.
investment. If you're putting 5, 10, 15% down, versus 0% down, you can do the math really quickly. If you're putting nothing into the deal and you bought a house for $500,000, let's say, and now the house is worth $600,000 a year or two later, or whatever it's worth later.
That's right. Yeah.
The internal rate of return on your 0% down investment is something like infinity.
Infinity. Right.
So
and beyond, right?
Yeah, so infinity and beyond. So that's right, Buzz Lightyear. Good enough. So from a financial planning standpoint, it's a great, and it's a fixed rate.
That's it.
Whereas if you're renting, and if you've looked at rent lately, rents have been going up. Versus locking in with a fixed rate for 30 years.
Sure.
Is a great way to build up, generational net worth for your family.
But I think what's unique and what I do in the programs too, as well, is that we bring these mortgage providers,
Right.
okay, into the program. All right. And then when we cover that VA financing piece and understanding the dynamics, let's just the dynamics of the financing of the VA vehicle, okay, and what it means to the military buyer, your loan officer is in there, all right? Your
Right.
loan providers
In the
are
course
in
with
there
them.
with
Yeah.
us,
Yeah.
okay? And I want you to hear from them. These are the folks that are in your backyard. These are the individuals that are real estate professionals are going to be calling and answering those questions, all right? And I think it's extremely important because now they're building a relationship. And we are in a relationship building business, without a doubt, 100%. And so what is it we can do, all right, to engage those folks into folks themselves? I like working with folks themselves that I can trust. I can trust you, Mark. I think, yes, I can, without a doubt. But I like working with individuals themselves that I know, that I trust, that I've built a relationship with. And that's what you have the opportunity of doing in this program, is seeing firsthand and asking those questions, or having a source to go when a question does arise, on a DD 214 or something like this.
Right.
Okay. And
Right.
so those questions do arise, and having those. And I think that's been a great success in the program, without a doubt.
Yeah, the trust is huge. I mean, that's the whole ball of wax.
Right.
Whether it's a military family or otherwise, you need to work with a local professional who knows what they're doing. And especially in today's market, with inventory being so low,
Right.
and fewer at bats, that local person that you can trust to give you the right answer, quickly, is even more important.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So that's good. Mark, I think we've covered a lot of ground today, all right, for our listeners. All right. I think it's extremely important that we covered a couple of pieces of sales. MRP, very, very instrumental. Okay. And military relocation is not only helping and working and developing the relationship of you to military personnel, but also building it to your civilian population because of how we cover the material in the course, all right, that we go through. Mark, you've been in plenty of my courses themselves. Everybody walks out energized. Everybody has fun already. Everybody is engaged in the questions and answers. And I have not had one person fall asleep yet. okay? Which is pretty cool,
That
you
is-
know. But I'm always
there's
running
that.
around and jumping around and doing things out there to engage the folks because I'm passionate about this, and I know you're passionate about it too as well. And I think that's extremely important to remain and stay steadfast with like-minded folk, you know.
Sure.
And individuals themselves that understand the process or could give you the next up, the next hand up. All right. You know, it's the funniest thing, and I'll leave here too as well, is everybody that leaves the course not only leaves with additional material, okay, because what happens, we'll send you additional material to supplement what's not in the book, okay, such as all the guidelines and the pay rates and everything else like this. And then on top of that, we have a series of 9 additional financial videos.
Right.
Okay. That's going to travel with you too as well, all right, that you can share with your clients when it comes down to the financial perspective of home ownership going forward in the future. All
Yeah,
right?
so I would say if you're listening to this and you're a real estate agent and your business is not where you want it to be, I think you should take a hard look at Rich's MRP course. I can't think of a better plan if you want to have a plan that's easy to execute and a more rewarding community to go put your efforts into this business than the military community, and get better at learning how to serve them. And if that doesn't inspire you, then maybe that's not your cup of tea. But I'm pretty sure if you get plugged into this community, you're going to love the stories. They're going to build on each other,
Resonate.
and you'll have 2 things. You'll have one, a very rewarding business, in terms of you giving back to the community. And it'll also be financially rewarding for you too. You'll have, if your business will be, it'll be where you want it to be, with a community of folks that you want to help and serve.
Sure.
And so I we talked about it earlier. A good plan versus good execution. My hope is they take your course and they get inspired to go help this community, and take the average plan of going and attacking and getting plugged into the military community,
Right.
and the inspiration that they get from serving this community every single day gives them the execution that they're looking for to build a successful business for themselves.
Sure. Mark, and I'll end up here. I said, what I tell everybody in the classes themselves, and I said, if you can spend 6 hours with me, right? Remember this, right?
That's a great point.
If you spend 6 hours with me on this particular program, okay, I can spend an eternity with you.
Yep.
Okay. And you have my cell phone, you have my contact, you can reach out to me, you can reach out to Mark anytime. We want to be your informational source. We want to be the reason why you've done so well, all right, with not only military relocation, but all inside of your business and outside of your business as well. All right. So, Mark, I want to thank you very much. Any last comments themselves for our audience out here?
No, thank you so much for the partnership. I really appreciate it. I appreciate your commitment to serving the military community. And I'm looking forward to our schedule for the rest of 2023.
And you'll see that out there real soon,
and
yeah.
introducing more folks to a better way of serving this community.
Good deal.
I'm excited about it.
Thank you. Mark, thank you very much for joining me today. Mark Hammond from Union Home Mortgage. This is Rich. Thank you very much for joining us, and we shall talk to you real soon. Have a blessed day. Bye-bye.